Thank you, Dr. Oslam. Uh, First of all, let me thank Dr. Melton for having invited me and letting me into Latin to make this presentation today. Uh, Before I go further, let me move on to my presentation PPT slide. Just a moment, please. Is this visible?
Yes, yes, we can see the page.
Can you see my first screen?
Yes, we can, Dr. Dumblekar.
Thank you. Uh, I've been playing games through my firm called Mantis for almost 20 years. Before that, I've been into games for almost 5, 6 years as well. Games are a very natural environment for interactive activities, and therefore, participants engage themselves very deeply. Games are therefore a natural environment for understanding and researching engagement experiences. And that is where most of my content today arises. Before I go further, I will quickly summarize what Dr. Oslem has said today. A brief introduction about myself. I've been into games for almost 25 years. Mantis is almost 20 years old next April. During this period, I have been designing and developing games, 40 to 45 games of a variety. Some 30, 32 games are dead or obsolete by this time, leaving me with about a dozen games that are active. I've written about 10 or 12 published papers. There are about 4 or 5 other papers in different stages of publication. During this period, some 15,000 players have played under my games across 90 educational institutions, about 30 odd business firms, and so on. We've also played in Dubai and Thailand often. My principal students in teaching have been strategy, finance, accounting, business, and research students. They have been mostly postgraduate students, uh, typically of an age of about 21, 22, 23 years, but many of them also have been older. I've been teaching for about 25 years, so the students' engagement experience also is based upon my students' response to the classes that I take for them. I've been to researching and reviewing studies, and there are already 5 online. I'm also a reviewer and an associate editor for Simulation and Gaming, a SAGE journal. I've had other experience into commercial banking and capital markets, and also been teaching into games. And so therefore, this gives me a pretty broad experience and sound experience to be able to experience and therefore write and talk about engagement. There are two distinct sections in my presentation. One is to offer you ideas about the conceptual foundations of what is engagement. And later on, I'll move over to a section called recommendations, where I suggest what can be done by teachers and even trainers to extract good engagement from students and trainees. This is an example of engagement. You can see that this girl standing in the distance. It's a distance because she's about 60 feet away from me, and I have photographed this with my zoom. She's standing simply because she cannot afford to sit. She cannot sit because she's too excited by the nature of the problem that she is encountering in the small team of 4 members that she has. She's so excited that she cannot sit and talk. Therefore, she stands. This is one example of engagement that we could offer to our students and trainees. This is the room, an example of which that student was playing a game in. This game was being played somewhere in July this year, and she was at the far right end. My point is that we can get every one of the students to get engaged in the game and excited by what it offered to everybody in terms of learning. What are the foundational issues that I would like to offer you in terms of ideas and concepts? The first one is of the late Csikszentmihalyi's idea of flow. Flow has been there for almost 30, 35 years. It broadly suggests uh, a mental situation of an individual who is so engrossed in what he's doing that he forgets everything else. Now, that is a sign of engagement that I wish, that we wish that all of our students could aspire to. Can we create conditions where participants forget everything except that the problem that they're attending to? Can we hope that our students are listening to the teacher with such rapt attention that they are able to learn and participate in the learning? How can that happen? Now, Csikszentmihalyi, the author of this concept, suggests that this can happen when the student encounters two opposite forces. One, he finds opportunities to solve a problem that is large enough and complex enough to be met by the second issue, that of his skills and abilities to act, which means the problem and the skills should be equally matched. If the problem was to be easy, then the participant or the student in this case would find no interest to do or apply his mind to solve the problem. If the problem was too difficult, it would frustrate the learner and he would give it up without much trying. Therefore, there should be a match between the skills and the problem encountered by the student. This is the first of the propositions that I offer to you to be able to look at and create conditions of engagement in the classroom. Taking that idea further, what happens when a student or anyone is experiencing a flow moment? Flow is a moment, is a situation. What happens then? Well, there are 5 or 6 things that happen to the person there. He is curious and active because he is noticing the problem, he is noticing the change in the problem. Probably he is seeing the participants who are very closely associated with that problem. He is alert and watchful for any kind of changes and details about the problem. He is trying to find a solution and trying to be as creative as possible. He wants to apply his mind. He wants to solve the problem. Therefore, he's totally focused. He is also happy because he is solving the problem one by one, and therefore he is so excited, motivated, and therefore is satisfied. And at this particular point in time, he can think of nothing else, he can experience nothing else except that particular moment when he is facing the problem at a hand. And that is the moment of flow. The flow experience has been depicted like this. If you can see in the x-axis, you can see the skills from the low on the left side and the high on the right. On the y-axis, you have the challenges, low at the bottom and high at the top. And at the right top corner, you can see flow. This broadly suggests that when skills are at the highest and when they meet challenges which are equally placed in terms of the ability of the person to solve the skills, then that is when the student or the individual experiences flow in its best format, which means he forgets everything else and it tends to focus on the problem or the issue at hand. If you can see the challenge is low and the skills are high, there is relaxation, the problem is ignored. It is too easy. On the other side, if you find that the challenge is very high, the problem is very difficult, then the person is anxious, is frustrated, and he tends to give up. I now come to a very popular and very clearly understood and misunderstood idea called fun. We look at fun from different ways. One of the ways we look at fun as when we see a comedian crack a joke on the stage. But according to Catherine Price, who was interviewed in the McKinsey Journal in 2022, Price also wrote a book on fun. She explained fun to be at the intersection of three, uh, let's call it themes. One is playfulness, second is connection, and third is flow. Working backwards or from right to left, uh, we should say that we have already understood what flow is. That means a person who is totally engrossed in what he's doing, he also experiences fun. You come to the right and you find connection. When a person is totally connected to what is happening around him, especially to the problem, then he finds a clear association and an explanation of what is fun. And most importantly, the play. Play is about the freedom given to the individual to act, to respond to the problem at hand. I know I repeat problem again and again. The idea is that the adult or the player needs something to solve, something to correct, something to do better. And that is what we call a problem. When that happens, at the highest level of fun, what does the person experience? He experiences happiness. He wants to do more, therefore he is more productive. And then resilience, well, he does not feel pain. He forgets the stressful nature of his background at that particular moment in time. He forgets any other kind of negative emotions. He is happy. He is in a period of fun, as as explained by Price. Let's take it further. Ralph Coster talked about the theory of fun. And here, as teachers, I think he explains it differently because he connects fun to learning. He says that fun is an emotional response to learning. He connects it to emotion. That means it's an excitement. Clearly, when there is learning and when that means you're changing, you tend to become more aware or tend to uh, know that you can solve a problem. You experience fun. But most importantly, look at the bottom half of this presentation where he clearly connects fun to three or four other issues, all of them connected to learning. One, he says fun arises from mastery. Of course, he says games, but then life is a game. Everywhere you're trying to solve something, you're trying to conquer something, and therefore it's a game. So when you feel you have mastered something, that means you know more today than what you knew earlier. You feel happier, you feel fun. He says it also comes from comprehension, therefore awareness. Thirdly, he says it is the act of solving puzzles. Now, instead of puzzles, I use the word problems and challenges a little earlier. We are all in the same domain. We're only looking at the same word from different directions. And he says solving problems and puzzles makes it fun for us. Finally, he says learning is a drug because every time we play a game, we solve problems and we feel more excited by what we have accomplished. We have mastered something, we have conquered a difficulty, and therefore it is a fun experience. Now, this we have talked about three experiences so far in terms of what they contribute to engagement. Let us look at the fourth one very soon. What exactly is learning? This is the Bloom's taxonomy. The left one is a little older version. The right one is the current version, acceptable across the world. The learning broadly says that remembering, which is a common facet of students and what students do in terms of study. And there are five other levels of learning, such as understanding, application, uh, analysis, evaluation. I think I'll explain this in the next one. It broadly suggests, the pyramid suggests that you go from the bottom to the top. And at the top, you find on the right side, creating something new. Of course, you always create something new. The innovation part and so on is the highest objective of learning. Therefore, what exactly do we have? So the taxonomy explains why we have to learn. And if we can understand why we have to learn, we also solve the problem of engagement in terms of what Coster said. So if we can take it further, we realize we learn because we want to recognize something, we want to describe something, or we want to understand something and apply it. We also want to explain, analyze, and so on to other people about a problem or about a situation. Or we would like to find linkages with other issues, synthesize the problem, synthesize what we have seen and experienced. Or as we go higher, we come in terms of evaluation and judgment, applying our minds and determining whether this is better than that or not. And finally, the highest level of learning in terms of Bloom is creativity, innovation, doing something new altogether. But to add to Bloom, I have three more reasons to learn. Uh, these reasons are here. One, why don't we learn to experiment? Why don't we learn to explore further into areas which we don't know about? Experiment is an area where we know something, we would like to find out whether it is true. Explore is something where we do not know what it is, we want to find out more. And of course, solving problems, because that is what Costa said, and that is not apparently visible in the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, I come to something now, an outcome of our research, which we call satisfaction from games, where we discovered and we created a scale of game satisfaction or a player satisfaction. First of all, we understood from the mass of literature and research that preceded um, the research effort, and we found that games in general created satisfaction due to the use of games. If the games were simple, it was understood and you can play it easily. So therefore, you're happy with it. And the freedom that you have to do whatever is required, and the game is such that it has controls that you understand and you apply it. You can participate in it in freely. You don't have to pay for it, or it's not expensive, it's not rare. The resources are easily available, and you can measure the performance, and you can actually perform. That means if the game is too hard, you can't do anything there. It prevents you from doing something. Well, you can't satisfy yourself in a game like that. And of course, you require interactions. All games are social experiences where we would like to play with other people against other people. So we have collaborators or partners versus competitors and combatants. And finally, learning is part of everything. Therefore, at the end of a game or during the game, one of the biggest satisfaction issues in a game is that of learning. What did you learn today? Is a question that must be asked, and a question that every player in a game asks. In playing electronic games, the issues of satisfaction were slightly different. They talked about engrossment, something similar to a flow, whereby you're totally engrossed in the game such that you forgot everything else. Time went past, you didn't realize whether it was 8 o'clock in the morning or 10 p.m. at night. The storyline, often games have stories, simulation games, serious games have stories that you can follow. The stories could be offering a mystery, challenge, and so on. They hold your attention. And of course, you have mystery. Therefore, it is to do with learning as well. We have often said discovery itself is a process of learning, it's the outcome of learning. Finally, fantasy. If you see the games that have come out now, most of those first person shooter games and strategy games that are available on the net, you tend to create something and build something. They're all fantasy games, something in the future. They sensationalize things. They raise your body temperature and you become angry and happy and excited and so on. And of course, winning is part of it. They make a person realize his primal uh, competitive emotions and bring out everything out of it so that he can feel happy that he's used his ability to the full. He's so immersed in the game, as we talked about engrossment, another version of engrossment, that he forgets everything else. That means we build his focus. So engagement here is a combination of all these, including the features of the game and the aesthetics, the colors, the scheme, the arrangement of things, and so on. Now, based upon this, and a sample of something like 600 odd uh, game players, 550 who were students, and 50 others were adults of the age of 35 and above on an average, we discovered that player satisfaction was a composite of five factors. Composite. Some of them would have produced good effects in one kind of a game, others in other kind of games. For example, excitement. I'll describe these items a little later uh, to a greater detail. Excitement is something that will get the participant, the student, or anybody connected and stuck to the game for a long time. We have seen examples of this with respect to the flow and the fun example just now. The challenge makes humans like us, rise to it and say, let me face it, let me confront it, let me solve it. Then the learning experience, often something new, we confront, we get excited by it and say, I did not know this before. And the game has taught me uh, to become aware about this feature. And finally, not finally, a team victory. Like I said, game is a social exposure experience where everybody gets together and tends to win something. So therefore, team victory is something very important as well, an important feature of the game satisfying experience. And finally, self-discovery. When I play a game, I realize that I was not too good at this area, and that area, and the third area, and so on. I get to know where are my strengths, where are my weaknesses, and therefore that makes me aware about myself, and therefore I am ready for the world at a different level for tomorrow. My partners in this were Dr. Dubey and Dr. Dar. So, what did we mean by excitement in a game? And how can we apply this to normal any other event, especially learning events? Excitement was defined as the result of an organized and structured game. Now, you can apply the word game to any other learning experience where the interaction between the team players and the events were so constructed that the game was remembered for a long time, even though the game was completed. Um, I'm sure all of us have remembered a lot of events in the past, none of which are probably games, but they are just experiences that we love to look back upon and remember it and apply it. Challenge. A challenge is a problem that makes all humans, attracted and would like to solve it. Um, it's not too difficult to understand this, but once we have solved a challenge or a problem, we feel that we can take on something bigger and more difficult. And that is why we feel much more stronger after the event. And that is probably one of the reasons why it adds to the engagement of the problem. A learning experience. A learning experience, one, it makes you aware. Another, it makes you more capable of confronting and solving a problem. And that results in a thrill. And as you remember what Costa said, learning is a drug. Learning is something that you cannot ignore. You want to go back to it and enjoy those interactions. Then we have social engagement, such as a team victory, which helps us to play and learn from other people. It helps us in our social engagement to help other people, to debate with them, to confront them and tell them they are wrong, and be told that we are wrong as well. And along this route, we tend to learn faster than if you were to play something alone. Although I am still in favor of lone games like Sudoku and all that, but team games are something where you learn something differently. This is a team game example that I wanted to show you about. You can see teams of 5 and 6 people here. There are something like 55 students on the same floor on this day. This is somewhere in July 2002, this year. This is the beginning of a business management school program. Self-discovery is a moment where the game tells you, not your friend, not your teacher, not your colleague. About the game tells you that you did not know this very well. You are good at this, you're not good at that. This is the context or the conditions under which you do well, and so on. So instead of a person telling you that you don't speak well, or you're not doing this well, etc., where you feel hurt, you have an experience telling you about your ability and your competence, so that you can change and learn from the game. A fourth input uh, for understanding engagement and applying is to understand what is your motivation to engage in the experience. Here are 6 of them. They are related also to games in a manner of speaking, but they can be extended also to any other learning experience or any other experience. In fact, you can learn from any experience. Therefore, you do not necessarily have to call it a learning experience. So you can, when you, if you can fine tune the purpose of your student, you can learn faster. You can help him understand better. If you can relate the student's experience to something that he has had in the past, he is likely to learn better and deeper. If you allow the student to be able to do things his own way, as long as he learns something, give him autonomy, the freedom of choice, of method and approach, he will like it. If you can, we are going back to Csikszentmihalyi's flow. If we can give a problem that matches competence, then we can allow him to reach a level of flow. And of course, sometimes once in a while, people ask, what is in it for me? So therefore, there's a reward. Other people want to say, can I do something which changes things? So they want to trigger change and make things happen. So I'm sure you can find many other reasons as to how you can get people interested, that is motivated to play the game or to participate in the learning activity. Andragogy is a term that I've liked for the last 20 years. It tells me why older students do not learn. Andragogy is, uh, it's not really a hard-boiled science, but explains why adults do not learn the way children do. Pedagogy is where the teacher tells the student this is what you must do to study and so on. If you apply that to adults, Andhra, the adult is like to say, no, don't tell me. I know how to do this. I know everything. I know more than you do. I have more experience and so on. So what does andragogy really expand it to? It means that the adult is going back on his independence and authority. I am better than you, he tells the teacher. Don't intervene in my teaching, learning, he says. He, or rather you, have to find out what is his intrinsic motivation to learn. It may not be an award or reward. It may not be a higher salary and so on. What you could do is you could offer a challenge. All adults are intrinsically motivated to fight and conquer problems. So therefore, they would like to show that they are competent. So therefore, they want to seek utility value and not novelty. Novelty is for youngsters. But for older adults, I think you need to find what is the purpose of this, what will he gain, and so on. Now, who is an adult? An adult is not somebody who's of 18 years of age or 16 or 21. It is merely somebody who has had experience in that area for some time to come. So therefore, an adult could be a child, an 8-year-old child who has done something in that area, and you try to tell that child, do this or do that and so on. And that child is like to tell you, I know all about it, don't tell me. Now, if you can get, the adult is more prone to thinking on his own, independent thinking, reflective thinking, and of course, he would like to look back on the experiences and then learn from his own experiences rather than learning from you. So therefore, we have the engagement model. The engagement model is at least 5, let's call it themes, not factors, which I placed before you. We have discussed flow, which is a moment where the person forgets everything else except the problem that is engaged in. It could be a game, it would be solving a problem. Fun, as Costa says, and that's the best definition I like of fun, is where the person becomes aware about something, he has conquered something, he has mastered something, and he has learned something. Satisfaction is a composite of five issues, which I explained, which has elements such as excitement, challenge, team victory, learner experience, and self-discovery. Motivation, if we know the purpose of the student, probably we can structure and design the learning experience for him in a suitable way. And of course, his age. We talked about andragogy, that's important because if you can attend to these issues in the engagement model, I put a last one as a question mark. Maybe there's more. I don't know what more could we do to get the student to get engaged. If we can apply ideas from these five themes, I think we would be able to get most people interested in the learning experience. If that happens, our learners would become more curious. At the end of the experience, they would say, I would like to learn more and I'll do it on my own. I don't want anybody to tell me how to do it. I'll ask for help if necessary. So he wants to be independent. He does not want anybody else to interfere with his learning. And finally, he's going to learn on his own, with no interference for the rest of his life. I would like to make a few quick recommendations and leave it to you so that you can attend to the issues. How do we engage? How do we get people to engage in their experiences? I mean, I'm broadening the issue from the classroom to everything else. One, I think you have got to structure their experiences carefully. You must put things together such that A leads to B, B leads to C, and so on, which means you need to do a lot of testing before you offer it to the student. You need to take feedback from them, finding out what works and what does not work. You need to be careful because one group of students may like what you have offered, another group may not. So you will also face this risk once in a while. An older group of students may like something which a younger group of students may not like. So you'll have to test it again and again. But most importantly, you need to have a structure which also addresses the objectives of what you want the students to learn. You need to get your students to talk a lot. Forget about using PowerPoints, presentations, and all that. Let them talk naturally and let them assess each other. That would be probably the finest way that the students can understand that somebody else has told them and pointed out their error and the same platform, and therefore they learn very, very fast. I found conversation to be the most interactive of any kind of learning. You need to give feedback on how a student is learning, what he is doing, has he learned enough or not? Because a student is always looking up to his teacher, asking, what can I do next? Can I have an idea? Should I have gone this side or that side, etc. Now, sometimes he's not listening to you, but doesn't matter. You still have to tell him how he has progressed. Oh, yes, you have to listen to them lots and maybe you got to get them to listen to you also, which means you got to go deep into the reasoning as to why they are listening to, why they should learn, what is their motivation for learning, and so on. But above all, you need to listen to them. The problem here will be often they will talk in a language or about issues which you do not understand. So one way is you get them to write about their problems so that you can look at the words and repeat the words back to them and seek their concurrence. Did you actually say this? You ask the student, whereby he says, actually I said that, but I meant something else. So therefore, you get clarity by uh, getting your student to let you know, not only orally, but also in writing. Yes, you require a lot of mystery and uncertainty. If you can create your games or your learning experience in such a way that there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of black stuff where gray areas where student does not know what's happening. and you allow him to discover it for himself, he will be very excited. You are giving him puzzles the kind which Costa said that solving those puzzles make him very excited. That's what is fun, he says. So create those issues of mystery and uncertainty, ask him to find. And depending upon his level of understanding, create that kind of problem from time to time. Finally, not exactly finally, but more or less importantly, uh, data is fun. I like numbers, and maybe you could use pictures as well, or maybe songs, whatever you like, or voices to help come to conclusions. Maybe you could come to conclusion, or you could ask the students to explain something. You could give them a graph like this and ask him, tell us what does this really mean. And with a large number of students in the room, I'm sure you will get a number of different perspectives about the same problem, making everybody richer in experience in a very few moments. This is where I come to the end of my presentation. I know it is 8 p.m. at night, or maybe close to 9 o'clock over there, and we are close to 11:30. I hope I'm not been talking in your sleep.
Thank you very
On the
much.
hope that you have been engaged with what I've been speaking about.
Regard, that's a perfect timing, 38 minutes. Thank you very
I would like
much.
to thank all of you to for having patiently listened to me, and I hope I've been able to make some positive contributions and give you some ideas about how to engage your students.
That was
Dr. Austin
very
and Dr. Meltem, please, thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Dr. Vinod. Thank you, Özlem Hocam, for moderating it. Dr. Vinod, I really liked your presentation. It is amazing. I am these days very much interested in doing some research studies on metaverse and virtual reality, augmented reality. And for the last 2 days, I am looking for some scales to use. Now I got them. I am very much interested in these scales, and they are very hot because you have just developed them. I will be in contact with you, and if we could use them in our study. Actually, yeah, I would like to use them in my study. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Note for the presentation. Yes, please.
And
Özlem,
Meltem Hocam, we have a lot of comments and questions in the chat box.
Yes,
Can you hear me? We have a lot of comments, and we still have some time. I would like to read some of the comments and share the questions. The first one comes from Dr. Ramesh Sharma. He congratulates you, Dr. Dumblekar, on your excellent presentation. And he says, this is great to note that a particular game genre, fantasy, is a particularly powerful engine for empathy and social learning. As an attainment of satisfaction, what kind of educational strategies be employed that would lead to self-discovery by the learners? Would you like?
It is not very difficult to do that. All we got to do is make a simple list of learning objectives for every learning session. The learning session could be a full textbook, or it could be a small chapter, or it could be a session like this. For example, for this session, it was very clear from the title that the objective was to understand how to engage students. We could have maybe 3 or 4 subtitles, and then of course we could work from there. After that, it's easy. Once you declare that these are the objectives, I think that the students would automatically understand the purpose of uh, the forthcoming experience, and therefore they would be less inclined to ignore it or get bored with it. So start from the objectives, and as the experience goes through, as you progress with the class, so to speak, or the presentation, maybe once in a while you look back at your notes and find out whether are you on track. That should be fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is another comment by Dr. Wafon Warniki. Sometimes she says, I do find adults are more interested to learn than children. Do you agree? I think she's asking if you agree with her or not. She finds adults are more interested to learn than children through games, she might mean. And Azra Tajisi says, I think young are more curious and discover to find new things because they try to learn how to learn. And there is a question by Ferdi Çelik. Dr. Dumblekar, thanks for this valuable presentation. I would like to ask a question. What is the difference between gamification and game-based learning?
Oh, that's an easy one. Gamification is, in the simplest form, it is a use of game-like elements in non-game environments. For example, sellers can give you points for buying more, or maybe teachers could offer more points for attendance. Uh, it is not as if it is an, the 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 concept is new, but we have been applying it for decades. We have been giving marks to the students. That is gamification. That means they can see the scores and they can see the growth in their, or the change in their learning. The scores depict their scores and the grades and the gross grade point average, etc., etc. Tell them how they are faring. The second issue is that the game-based learning is, which uh, the questioner has asked. A game-based learning is where you begin with the game to be able to learn from it. That means a massive change in our syllabus, which is often built from textbooks. A game-based learning means when you tie your learning to the issues that can be learned from games, it is quite possible that there could be some issues that have been not addressed by games at all, and they have to be learned and experienced differently.
You can say a little bit that one is the action verb, as we define it in the Bloom's, when we say that game or game-based learning. Here some action is needed, action is taken up. So I will consider it as a short of an action verb. Whereas gamification is more something like a strategy. You try to define, you try to make certain framework out of that. So that will be, even if you think like, say, this structure of earth, if you cut it into two pieces, like, so the core will be the game-based learning, which is surrounded by the elements of gamification, in which, so the upper layer will be that way. So means if you want to try something in your class for your students, and then first of all, you will plan how to do it. So that way, but when you go into it in the execution state, so that will go as the, say, so some sort of an action verb where some action is being taken. I hope it makes some sense.
I'll give you a live example. When you fly on your favorite airline, it gives you frequent flyer points for every sector that you travel. The more miles you travel, it gives you frequent flyer points. Now, that's a gamification approach. It is meant to encourage you to fly with that particular airline more and more. So the number of miles you travel is a kind of a score. So your score builds up. So you can apply that in with your school, your college, and your classroom by allowing some kind of a score to a student's behavior, the kind of behavior you want him to have. You want him to attend class every day. So you give him maybe more points beyond a certain stage. After he has had 70% attendance, you give him 1.1 for every 1 point that he used to earn before the 70% stage. So he wants to stay there. That's gamification.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dumblekar and Dr. Sharma. Thank you for your contribution as well. And other comments, great topic, great points, excellent and informative session, really grateful. Fully enriched with knowledge and information, Faisal Fayaz wrote. Another question, what can we do when a group of students like what you are doing and others don't?
I will just look at the chat itself. This was a question by.
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Dr. Vinod, game-based
Yes, sir.
learning is just like game-based learning, we can say it's an informal learning, where the students basically learn when they have leisure, and in different activities we engage them so that they could learn something. So if we see Finland education model, it's the best example where they basically keep them away their students about formal learning and involve them in different informal education game-based activities, where they basically, while practicing different tools and in electronics products, they basically learn something. So Finland education model is totally about game-based learning, where they educate their young learners, and in this way their electronic invention and innovation is going up as well, and their literacy rate also become high, so much due to which they basically followed the game-based learning. When we talk about the gamification, so it's just like it's a formal infrastructure where we engage and assess them and evaluate the students so that we could come to know that where they stand. And the assessment and evaluation in the basically in gamification model as well. So am I right or wrong?
You're right, sir. Not only that, I showed you one or two slides where people sat together and played a game in my presentation.
Right.
That's a game-based learning example.
So overall presentation is excellent. I really enjoyed, and obviously in a very precise way you elaborate each and everything. Dr. Ramesh Sharma, he is also one of the basically genius presenter and excellent mentor as well. I know him very well.
If you have the time,
Sir, you are our elder. You are our elders and we are your youngsters. So whatever your life experience you have delivering your insight, and we are learning from you people. So it's great presentation by yourself and Dr. Ramesh Sharma always. I really enjoyed always. And Ms. Melton invited me. So I basically joined a little bit late, but whatever the portion I have learned, and I have basically watched the basically session and listen it, it's excellent and very informative. Thank you very much, Dr. Vinod and Dr. Ramesh Sharma. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Kajal. Thank you so much for your
Dr.
good
Aslam, if there is time, I can show you a quick video of about 25-30 seconds.
Yes, sure. We still have 10 minutes for the end of the presentation and webinar. Of course, Dr. Vinod.
I will just show you a picture about
If it has
engagement. Just a
Vinodji,
moment.
if it has audio, then please remember to share system sound.
Okay, please, let's congratulate Professor Dr. Melton for giving us the opportunity to learn from Professor Vinod. Thank you so much, Professor Melton, for organizing all these interesting workshops. God bless.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Vinod.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Wafa. She's from Algeria joining us. Thank you for your comments. I'm very pleased to see you.
Dr. Vinod, are you going to share the video?
Yes, please. Please hold on. Just a moment.
Yes.
Dr. Faisal, also I thank you for your nice comments. Thanks for being with us. Please
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
And there are lots of questions. This is so nice, isn't it, Dr. Özlem?
Yes, yes, Madam Hocam, and I was thinking how we
Just a
can
quick-
send them
A
to
quick video, just a short video.
Okay, Dr.
okay.
Vinod, we're waiting for it.
This learner engagement and the flow of activities are something we always want to measure when we are applying a technology-based tool, something with our students, so that it is very valuable. Yes. They are listening to you, watching your video. If it is,
While we are waiting for the video to be on, let
and
me
still some new people are joining us from different, because I think this time difference, because of this, I can see from other countries, some people join very new. You're welcome. You're welcome to newcomers.
In fact, Professor Meltham, we welcome our good friend Deepak Gadgeji. He's an expert on blockchain, and you may be knowing that nowadays even the high-end games, they are mount on blockchain technologies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they-
Thanks for reminding me, Dr. Ramesh. Dear Deepak, sorry.
Gadge.
Yeah, I'm sorry for mispronouncing it.
It's okay.
He's working on blockchain, and he will be my guest on this Monday at my
Yes.
university at another webinar. They are pleased to see you. Maybe next time we can have another webinar with you, dear Deepak.
Yeah, sure.
There is one game. It is named as Gods Unchained. That is Ethereum based game. So you can try that.
Hmm.
Okay, Vinodji, please go ahead.
Dr. Vinod, is
Uh,
the video ready?
I just presented one video. I can present to you one more, just to show you the level of engagement which you just saw. I'll show you how, or I think I'll play it one more time. Just hold on.
Please.
Yes.
You can see how people are sitting together and solving a problem on their own without any teacher needing to guide them.
Dr. Vinod, we can't see the video. I think
See the
the
video.
video is
We can't see it. We only see your files, Dr. Vinod.
You need to select entire screen
Yes,
actually,
please,
because that may be running in another window.
Yes,
So-
open it in a new
How do I do that?
you need to share your entire screen.
When
when
you
you're
share your
Okay,
screen,
I'll do
please
that. Let me
with-
see.
window, please, Dr.
Hold
Vinod.
on, just hold on. Let's try
do
again.
one thing when you're trying to share screen, Dr. Vinod. So choose the option entire screen.
Okay, entire screen. Okay, I think now this should work. Just a moment, please.
Mhm. Okay.
Here it is.
I think it is working now.
We can see the voice, but audio.
We don't hear the voice, but
You just saw all the signs of engagement over there. They are solving a problem. They're learning something new. They're totally engrossed. You can have a lot of firecrackers and loud noises around them. They won't look at you. And they're totally excited by what they're finding. And above all, remember this, they do not require a teacher around them. They are self-contained. They are independent learners on their own at the highest levels of engagement, which all of us as teachers must strive to offer. So the elements of the solutions are there. It begins with giving them a problem, giving them independence to discuss and solve, create a mystery, don't tell them everything, and leave them alone for a while.
Okay, then can I also show a very small funny video which shows that how mental model learning is achieved through games, And you perhaps you must have seen it on the internet also. Let me share this. Oh, it says my screen sharing. Can you allow it?
Hocam, could you please allow Dr. Sharma to share his screen because he would like
Please share with Ramesh C. Sharma, not Dr. Ramesh Sharma, the another one, because it is on my another laptop.
Oh, sorry. Okay, just a minute.
My two IDs are there. One is Ramesh C.
Ramesh
Sharma.
Sharma, the other
Okay.
one.
Okay,
Ramesh,
I'm doing it.
Sharma.
Okay, I made it.
Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
and share sound. So the person at the back is drawing, and that one isn't supposed to draw it. You will find it that what one says and another perceives. So this is how therefore there are means various these kind of examples, they are available on the internet, in which people give some prompt and then the other person has to use imagination and work.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Sharma. I have to be very quick because we have many questions and comments, Dr. Vinod. So Deepak Gach, please excuse me if I pronouncing it not right. So great presentation. How do you compare to the games played by Fortnite, Minecraft, and PUBG? People got engaged and addicted. How do we measure learning and how do we use these games for learning? Gamification is the next big industry, hence the query. Minecraft, PUBG, and Fortnite. How do we measure learning and how do we use these games for learning? This is his question. Would you like to make any comments?
Read out that question and slowly, ma'am. I didn't get that.
How do you compare to the games played by Fortnite, Minecraft, and PUBG? People got engaged and addicted. How do we measure learning and how do we use these games for learning?
I think each of those games has a different context and set of problems. From the problems, we can work backwards and distinguish what skills are being used by the participants and the players to solve those problems. And those skills and the problems that they solve would be deemed to be the objectives of the game. And therefore, they are the ones that the students and the participants learn from playing. Now, addiction is a different issue. The first question, to answer the question that what can be learned from the games, can be understood from linking the skills with the problems that they address and solve. They do become addicted, but addiction is something that can be broken, can be resolved in some form or the other.
Okay,
Actually, it is there. It is their design, the learning design, indirectly in the learning design which they employ. That is worth noting because with the help of those rewards and other kind of incentives, the feeling of addiction, it is introduced. Somehow we fail to include that in our normal teaching learning settings. And that's why these games, they become popular. But if we try to analyze it, dissect this game and try to find out what kind of pedagogy is involved into it and try to imitate. You see, normally when we say that in massive open online courses, the videos or the online courses should not be more than 8 to 10 minutes because of our attention span. But the kind of feature film movies, they like the Hollywood movies or the Indian cinema, the Bollywood movies or South Indian movies, we can easily watch them even if they are of 3 hours duration without even blinking our eye. Why? Because they become so much engaging. So that element of engagement, if it is there, the games all will be, can be made, not only as the game, but even our teaching learning strategies that can be addicted. You know, some teachers, they are so popular that if they change the institution, the students also change the institution because they want to study. We have some real example with that. It means we have heard Professor M.M. Pant. He said that when his teacher changed the institution, he also changed his institution because of his strategies, the way he used to teach the students. So he goes, the students follow. Unfortunately, it is we need to do it more in our teaching learning settings.
Sir, I'll just step in. What Dr. Ramesh Sharma said is a very valid point. So all these games which I mentioned, like Fortnite, PUBG, or Minecraft, so they're issuing tokens, rewards for players to gain more power to play the next level. So the more tokens you are buying, you are getting more ammunition to play these kinds of games. I think somewhere this part of gamification, when you look at technical or theory, when we are talking about university learning, we somehow have to link this to reward recognition, where the students are attentive, students are asking questions, students are innovative in the teaching which you are giving, or a problem which you are allowing to them to solve. I think more than spoon feeding, I think it should be problem for them to we should give, and then they should allow to come with their own innovative ways to solve the problem, and then reward through tokens, and where they can buy books, merchandise of the university, or something which the university can think as a uh, reward. I think that will drive more attention and even innovation. I will talk about this in my next session on Monday, what we have done with one of the colleges.
Yeah, that's a valid point. It's a good suggestion.
In all these games, the critical issue is they are solving a problem. And this problem is not clearly defined. So therefore, there's a mystery attached. And as Mr. Gadge pointed out, every time you do something, you are rewarded with something to do it better. So you see an element of gamification there as well. So these are some common instances that can be built into our teaching experiences, not learning experience, teaching experiences, to make it fun, to make them all fun and attractive enough for the students to learn from. All you got to do is we've got to find out what can happen next, how. So to build a mystery, I suspect every teacher learns to write stories, because mysteries are in stories. So he has to become a storyteller and story writer as well.
Ivan Pavlov did it long time ago, this stimulus response theory. So, you give them some prompt, motivate them to do something, then give them reward, and the cycle increases, goes to the next level, next level.
Yeah, it works. In fact,
It works.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
it does
Very
work.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question, Dr. Vinod by Ferdi Çelik, he says, sometimes the parents complain about their children that they spend too much time on their mobile phones, tablets, or laptops. However, we know that technology can actually ease the learning process if used in a proper way. How can we advise parents to help them with the use of technology, especially use of games?
I'm offering an opposite view. The view is this: why can't we ask the students what do you find exciting in these games? That could be a very good research topic that we have not addressed so far. We have so far found this level of engagement perhaps a little annoying, perhaps a little mysterious for us because probably most of us here do not play PUBG and other games. So maybe there's a lesson here for us as to how to create games and not to also to understand from these participants why do they like these games so much and what skills they have developed from these games. It will not be easy because they themselves may not be able to describe the skills that they have from playing these games. Maybe it'll take some time for us to extract the meaning and describe the skill that they have been able to develop by playing these games repeatedly. Let us remember that a skill is developed once you start doing something repeatedly. And when they play the game repeatedly, there is a skill being developed, but I suspect we cannot see it uh, openly. It is somewhere beneath the surface. And I think if we can extract that, I think it's a huge lesson for the next level of educators.
Then time factor is also there. In normal, this kind of computer games or the other games, the result is immediate. You can see it. But in educational settings, it takes time and to observe it, to develop it. So that is one. Sushmana ji, how are you?
We have another question. I see her hand raised. Sushmuna Rao.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
It
Thank
creates
you.
game using H5P.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
an accent on that.
No, thank you. Hi, Professor Melton. Thank you so much. I was in another meeting, so I couldn't join earlier. I know it's a wonderful session, Vinod sir, and happy to see you, Ramesh sir. And my idea, I mean, you just explained, sir, now that what skill that they develop, because these days I am constantly observing a kid very much next to me that is very much addicted to certain games. And the same question I observed past, I think, 18 months now. I noted down certain things that I'm trying now. I'm working on the similar lines where he said that kid is 10 years old, and then he said the kind of games he played is what he gains is how to be always a winner, learning how to operate certain weapons that he gets while winning certain levels so that he can move forward. Then I thought, why don't we apply this for a language learning? For example, yeah, because I'm a big language lover, sir. Regional language is Telugu, so I always work even for that to promote mother tongue. So I thought, like, why can't I work towards that? The same theory I want to apply. The moment when the other person is talking, and this person should extract some words and the meaning of that, and then pop those balloons, and then win whatever the asset and move forward. So this way, unknowingly, a kid might be learning certain words of that particular language or the jargon or the dialect. So it's still in that budding idea, sir. When the moment you said the skill they acquire, we have to figure out. So what I thought is, he's always wanted to be a winner of the other person, and then by learning how to operate the kind of machinery over there to overcome the obstacle. So that could be our language, or that could be science, that could be math, but then it should not bother the kid that you are learning something. And unknowingly we should be maybe injecting that. Maybe if I'm right or wrong, I just would like to listen from all of you, sir. Vinod sir.
Overcoming somebody else and beating somebody else, outbeating or whatever it is.
Yeah.
One is also overcoming his own weaknesses. He is rising to a higher level of competence
Yeah.
that he does not know. He's
Yes.
becoming better at it on his own
Yeah.
when he beats somebody. So he's
Yes.
solving a problem. And
Yes,
that
sir.
itself is a matter of fun for him.
Yeah.
And at that time, you would have noticed that you ask him to come for lunch or dinner, etc. He does not hear you. He cannot hear you. He's totally engrossed.
Yes, sir.
And that is the level that we must strive for our classrooms, our projects, assignments, and so on. I know it's difficult, but I
Yeah.
think we have to somehow bell that cat. It's possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much. Thank you, sir. I hope I'm going in the right direction. And those
In the
lines.
direction of games, it's always right.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
biased, but I think I'm
No,
right.
I'm always on that, sir, because as Ramesh Sharma said, I always look for a tool to engage a student in a kind of gamified way. That's the same way I tried. Somebody mentioned about incentivizing. Once I tried in LMS, there is a tool called Motrain. It's called MOTRAIN. It's a plugin available where it will give in a LMS, the teacher can decide how many points that they can achieve while accessing certain resource or an activity, doing an activity in the LMS. And then at the end of the year, how many ever the points they get, they exchange it with once they did even exchange with in Vietnam. It happened that they even gave Christmas gifts for 300 points iPad. A language teacher experimented this. Yes, sir. And I worked for a designing of that course, and I really loved it. But then I didn't get any chance to apply that Motrain in any LMSs right now. I'm because it's kind of a little expensive and also not really tie up with all other countries' outlets. So yes, sir. And also a level up, I really like. So very little knowledge I have about these things, but I'm trying myself. And thank you so much again, once again, Professor, for giving me this great opportunity to interact. Thank you.
Nara, for being with us and for your contributions. I think we have another question by Tuba Kızılkan. She's raising her hand. Yes, Tuba Hocam.
Thank you, Hocam. And firstly, thank you, Dr. Dumblekar. I'm really much into these topics, and this was really very informative and insightful. And thank you, Meltem Hocam, for making this happen, for the opportunity. So I have a quick 3 questions, actually. So, Mr. Dumblekar, you can answer all of them, or maybe you can choose because of our time. But firstly, I'm doing some research on neurodiversity, students with neurodiversity. So I would like to know if there's any research on the effects of gamification and usage of metaverse in terms of teaching students with neurodiversity. That's my first question. And the second one is I'm a member of Metaverse Association here, so I'm really into this stuff. And in terms of teaching, where the lessons include the common experience of teachers and students of metaverse based, lesson planning. And another question, the last question is, would you recommend any further reading resources and MOOC courses for teachers for gamification? Thank you so much. So many questions.
I'll take the second question very quickly. I think any experience can be recognized and measured. And if there are any differences of opinion, I think those differences of opinion in terms of recognition of experiences would also be useful to us in terms of what they are. So the experience in metaverse can be easily measured. I say easily. All you got to do is recognize them. That's all. It should not be too difficult. The first question, I missed it because there is some audio problem at my end. You may have to repeat that again, ma'am.
Sure. Actually, I'm doing some research on students with neurodiversity, and I would like to do some more further research on students with neurodiversity. So is there any research that you would recommend on the effects of gamification and usage of metaverse with the students with neurodiversity in terms of teaching
Applying gamification is not too difficult. It is very easy. All you got to find out is determine what behavior you want them to show, adapt, learn, apply, etc. And you offer them points. I would also think in terms of offering penalty points for behavior you don't want them to show, late coming, etc. etc. You give them negative points. You can use, instead of points, you can use colored cards. Above all, some of these points you display it in public view, telling them this is why the points were received or recognized. When they publicly compare their points with each other, everybody will unconsciously will try to compete with each other, trying to demonstrate the kind of behavior you want. You start experimenting with one or two behaviors, then slowly grow it. Don't go full blast. Take just one or two behaviors and say we would like to give you 10 points for this and 20 points for this, etc. etc. Like I said for attendance just now, you want everybody to have 70% attendance, etc. But you would like to reward people who are better. So till 70% attendance, give them 1 point for every 1%. After 70%, give them 1.1 till 80. After 80, give them 1.2 for every 1%. Hey, that's good.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tuba Hocam, for your question. And Dr. Vinod, I see we have many participants from Peru and other from North Carolina, and they are all extending their appreciation and thanks to you. And we have
Sorry, Özlem Hocam. Dr.
So-
Özlem, yeah, Özlem Hocam, this became a very engaged session, I think. Everybody is very engaged, and this is something actually we have been long waiting for. I am so happy to see all these questions here. I think, Dr. Vinod, we have to make another session with you, it seems like.
Pretty much. I'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm
Yeah.
already engaged with the viewers here.
Everybody is so much engaged. Yes, yes, Dr. Hocam, Özlem Hocam.
Hocam, Dr. Sharma has just shared an article. Yes, Dr. Sharma, would you like to briefly mention about this? Because I see that there are some notes.
This was a bibliometric study on metaverse, what has been done so far, and we try to identify certain factors. So if you are going to, means planning to do a research in metaverse, then we identified on the basis of what research has already been conducted, try to identify some of the factors and the identified research gap where the work can be carried out. So that can be. Our ultimate comment was that if we don't take care and proper handling this platform, then it won't take long time in converting metaverse, VERSE, into metaverse, WORSE.
Okay, thank you very much. I just reshared it. By the way, latecomers are asking for the video recording, Meltem Hocam, Susan.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is recorded. I can share it later. We will share it on YouTube. Okay. Dear participants, I can see even there is a participant from Peru. So this became a very international webinar. That's
Okay.
so nice. So happy I am.
Thank you very much. I think we have received all the questions. Now it's almost 90 minutes, 1.5 hours. Thank you very much, Tuba Hocam, and other participants who are with us this night. But Dr. Vinod, we are very sorry we keep you for so long. And I think, Meltem Hocam, it's time for us to end the webinar and maybe arrange another webinar on a similar topic.
Yes, we have to make a second session for this, just for the question and answers, because I can see there are some other questions we haven't replied yet. Sorry, so sorry for the people who we are not able to answer all the questions. We have to leave. Thank you, dear Dr. Vinod.
Meltem, just 1 minute. I want to add one thing for Tuba, because she wants to do some research. In the morning today, the Islamic University of Bahawalpur in Pakistan they conducted the first conference on a very, very serious topic, that is the dignity of women. And I spoke there. I mean, this is a very serious issue, and particularly, you may be knowing that nowadays the things are a little, very serious about the dignity of women in many parts of the world. So that conference was dedicated to this theme. Today was the second day. And there I made a very brief, quick presentation on dignity of women in metaverse. Because there are currently, it is a new platform. There are no rules, regulations, particularly to this medium. So the IT Act of the current laws, which are in vogue in various countries, these things, they are being covered with that. But how the things, the platform is being misused, daily new reports are coming up. This is a good research area also to focus on, because there was a one news in February this year by a very senior, means she is a professional person, and she says that as soon as I entered the metaverse, I was assaulted. That news became very famous. And so I think this area is also can be researched, that and McKinsey has released a report very recently, I think just this week, McKinsey, the famous research company, that in metaverse, there is very low representation of women in leadership role. These kind of things means worth researching.
Can you share the link before you leave? Before we leave altogether, can you share the link, Dr. Ramesh?
I can share my presentation. I think it has the information in it.
Dr. Sharma, would you like me to write the title in the chat box, the dignity? I can type it if you like.
In Pakistan, where did you say this conference took place?
Yeah, let me forward the poster and that PPT to you on WhatsApp, which you can share with all colleagues here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Hocam, Hocam.
Hocam, I think we can end the webinar. I'm so sorry to say this, but thanks for this excellent talk. Thank you all for attending this session. We hope you enjoy the evening, and we wish you will enjoy the rest of upcoming events by Latin. Goodbye. Hope to see you all very soon in another Latin research and development webinars and events.
Bye. Thank you so much. We really enjoy listening to you and your moderation.
Can we take a photo before we leave? Can we take a photo before we leave?
Thank you. Yes, yes.
If possible, we can, if you're available, of course, at this time, I mean, time difference, you can, turn on your camera so that we can have a photo together. Dr. Ramesh, can you take our photo?
Okay, just.
Okay, you have to check. I can see your photo. I can do that as well. I will try to do. Okay.
Yes.
Before we go, I would like to thank everybody for listening in and for participation. This is the first webinar which I started yesterday, and it is ending today. In India, it is the next day.
Yeah. This late hour. Thank you.
Actually, if we didn't that, it will also cover the other day probably, because there are lots of.
We have taken 2 days for this conference in India.
Yeah.
It's quite a long period.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for interaction. Thank you. Good night, all.
Please download the file from the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Let's download
Dr. Sharma, good evening. Good night. Thank you
now
for the participation. Thank you.
Now
sir.
it is good morning. Just by 1 minute.
I know. Good morning. I know.
Okay.
My first presentation that has taken 2 days.
Yes.
The longest presentation I've participated in.
Yeah, don't forget
Dr.
to
Rao?
download. Don't forget to
Dr.
download.
Sushumna Rao, thank you for your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Nice meeting you, sir.
Good evening.
Dr. Shumna, hello, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I'm just Sushumna, no Dr. Sushumna.
And still some people are coming, still participating.
We will admit you to our PhD program and make you doctor. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. I'll be
Yes.
blessed. Thank you.
Dear
Thank you.
participants, before you leave, please remember to download Dr. Sharma's sharing about the event. It's already in the chat box.
Yeah.
And
You can also tell one thing if they do not know about it. There are 3 dots there. If you click them, then you can save the chat also as a text file in your computer.
I downloaded, where
It
is
is
it?
very easy.
Dr.
Just-
Sharma, was
Yes.
this conference took place in Pakistan, you said?
Yes, Pakistan.
Dear Dr. Faisal, you're from Pakistan, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan.
Did you, have you ever heard of this conference?
Yeah, Bahawalpur University is conducting. So I could not get time to work on it, but I will check it now. Dr. Ramesh Sharma, kindly tell me who is the basically organizer there?
Professor
Imran Latif Sefi,
Irshad Hussain, Professor Irshad Hussain.
Irshad Hussain.
Yes.
Right. Right. I will find out that person. Right.
I can connect you with him. Please send a message to me.
And what can we do to support them, Dr. Ramesh, if it is not too late?
About what?
I mean, this conference you said.
I have sent my email ID. Faisal, you can send me your email and then I will connect you.
Right, sir. I will send you email.
Friends,
And in this way,
I can talk to Irshad and maybe you can have the a similar kind of on the same thing conducted in here.
Right, sir. I will.
Please let us know anytime, Dr. Ramesh, if we could do something to support them. Okay?
Yes, yes.
I would be happy.
Certainly.
Some other. Okay, dear friends, dear researchers, would you like to say?
Sushumna, the file has gone above in the messages. Sushumna,
Yeah, okay, we downloaded. Don't forget.
Oh, okay, sir.
Dear Maria Gomez de la Torre, how are you? She's from Peru. Nice to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Great teacher. She's very productive. She's Dr. Ramesh, dear Dr. Vinod, and all other participants. Maria de la Torre is a teacher. She's always trying new strategies in her classes. Once she made a presentation at my conference so that I had a chance to meet her. Thanks for participating.
Absolutely. It was a great presentation. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, this learner engagement is very important issue, you know. We are trying, as you try some strategies, but what's happening at the learner side? Are they really engaged? Okay, we have to measure this. We are always, releasing new kinds of technologies, games, metaverses, but what is happening at the learner side? Because engagement and motivation today explains 80% of learning. This is something very important. So
I 100% with that, 100%. That's the strategy that I created, which is traveling around the world. What I did it is with that, they read, they write, they listen, because I teach ESL in North Carolina. And I have that result as well. Motivation and engagement, without that is not happening learning. So I agree with them.
Mariel, I have been to Lima 2 to 3 times as a keynote speaker in the conference there. And Dr. Luis Molina Almanja is my good friend. Now he has joined the Simon Bolivar Institution, if you know where it is located.
Could you repeat that?
I have a good friend whose name is Dr. Luis Molina Almanja, and he has joined as professor in Simon Bolivar Institute, that is a technical institute in Lima.
Oh, I left Lima about 22 years ago.
Okay.
And so not familiar because I just go for like 4 weeks to visit family. So not familiar anymore with education because I left too many years ago.
Yes.
But I'm sure it's fantastic. But I love your presentation. So thank you so much for sharing.
You are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much joining. Dear friends, dear participants, it's time to end up with this nice session. Actually, we don't want to leave, but Dr. Vinod, I know that when I'm a speaker, I a little bit get tired after the presentation. I think you need a rest now. Thank you again. I appreciate your efforts. I'm very happy to see you with us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for making this possible. What a grand set of questions and observations from a very good set of participants today and yesterday.
Okay.
And on Monday.
On Monday too. Monday too. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night all.
Good night to everyone.
Good night all. Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Dr.
Dr.
Faisal.
Sharma, good night.
Bye-bye.
Good
Dr.
night.
Ramesh.
Thank you, Dr.
Everybody.
Vinod.
Good
Ezra.
night. Thank you.
Susan.
Thank you,
Meltem,
Dr. Faiz.
Meltem, just I want to welcome Dr. Steve Warner. He is from
Oh,
Trinidad and Tobago.
sorry, dear Steve Warner. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I know, maybe at the very last minute, he participated, and still I am accepting someone. Just came in. It seems like we are not going to end up the session, but we have to. Okay, let's say, dear participants, we are about to end up the session. You're welcome. We hope to welcome you at another session. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Özlem Hocam,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye. Good
Goodbye.
morning.
Take care all.